Welcome everyone, my name is Kat Moore, and this is Songwriting from Scratch. Today we're going to work with all the tools that we have as human beings, our emotions, our sense of sound, and all the other tools available to us in the world to create individual, unique, original music. In the meantime, I just want to say thanks for joining us today here with Creative Forces. Again, my name is Kat Moore. I'm a singer-songwriter based in Anchorage, Alaska. As you can see, I'm a pianist. I enjoy playing the cello and the guitar and the upright bass and the violin. I love to sing, and I like to pretend that I play drums. So for me, music is sort of an all-encompassing, it's a lifestyle. I've been writing music since I was probably pretty young. I think I started to play piano when I was about 4 years old, just by ear, because I loved the music from cartoons. So I would listen to that music and then come and try and play it on piano. Actually, the first thing I ever played on piano, and you might recognize this, was if you recognize that, that's a theme from Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, the Pastoral, and it is also the soundtrack to a cartoon that was popular in the early 80s called The White Seal. And that's how I started playing music. I just wanted to hear my favorite sounds around me when I didn't have the opportunity to sit down and watch cartoons. So for me, music started out of necessity. Songwriting, I think, came the same way. When I first began writing songs, they started as melodies. Over time, I added lyrics and found that it started to be a really great way to emotionally process the things that were happening in my life, and also a way to share with other people. So there's so many reasons why I love music, and I'm just so elated to be here today to share them with you. So to start out, I think we have to talk about what makes a song. So I know that some of you are watching live here today, some of you may be watching later. If you have any ideas and you feel like sharing them, please put them in the chat thread. Charlie and Seth are here with me, and they'll let me know if there's things going on that I can answer, questions I can answer, or comments that I can speak on. But what is a song? That is my question for you. What is a song? Is this a song? Is that a song? Maybe. Is this a song? They're all sounds. But what is a song? A song is an organized expression of pitches to give meaning and order to these different sounds. So when we think about songwriting, we think about different sounds, different pitches, how they move in relation to one another. We might think about a song being something that has verbal expression, like lyrics, to express an idea or a feeling. When we are starting out with a song, we have to understand the parts of it to know how to make it. Songs possess what I think of as sort of two major parts. They start out, there is melody. It could be simple, it could be complicated, it could be happy sounding, it could be sad sounding, but that's a melody. The melody is like a tune, something that climbs or descends or hops. Maybe descends. Maybe it hops around. Right? So melodies could be anything that catches our ear and is a series of organized pitches moving around. That's only one component of the song. If I just did those totally erratic, the same thing, without any rhythm, it would just be, it'd be moving around. So another component of songwriting is a rhythm. So what is a rhythm? To understand that, we first have to understand what a beat is. So if you're at home somewhere and you can reach your hand to your heart. I just want you to put your hand on your heart and feel that steady rhythm, right? That's our beat. In music, we have a beat as well, where, you know, we hear a sound, and it's just a steady pulse. That's what a beat is. Now, a rhythm is a little bit different than that. If we have a steady pulse, a rhythm is what happens around or within that. So my left hand is going to be the steady pulse. Maybe I had too much coffee, my steady pulse is faster. Here's my steady pulse. Here's a rhythm in my right hand. So the rhythm is something that happens surrounding a steady pulse. It might be very similar to the steady pulse, or it could be very syncopated. So together, rhythm and melody form our songs. The other thing a song possesses that we have to kind of think about before we start writing a song is a form. Every song has a form, and you might have experienced this last week with Sarah's lecture. She used "You Are My Sunshine." You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. That first ending there leads us to something else. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. So we heard two distinct parts of that song. There was sort of a first half and a latter half. That's what we call song form. It's sort of an organization of these ideas, right? There's a beginning and there's an end. Some songs have a beginning and a middle and an end. Some songs have a beginning and then a huge middle that takes us a bunch of different places. Then it returns to the beginning feeling and goes somewhere else, and then finally takes us to the end. That's just the form of the song, much like the way that we speak in complete sentences. So when we talk about making music, we understand the components that we're using, and ultimately all we try to do is to get a whole sentence out. It's about as simple as that. But again, every time you sit down to write a song, even if you get just a phrase out, you know, a partial idea, and create some semblance of musical expression that has meaning, then you've started the song creation process. So I guess I wanted to take us from the very, very beginning point today. So if you've never written a song, and feel free, if you're in the chat, if you've never written a song, to say, hey, my name's so-and-so, I've never written a song, because we're going to write a song here today together. Pardon me. I get so excited about talking about all this stuff. So when we start to write a song, we have to start somewhere, right? Where do we start? We have to start with our inspiration, right? We have to be inspired to write a song. I mean, I don't know how many times, you know, somebody's come up to you and said, write a song right now or I'm going to turn you upside down. I don't know. I've never been threatened to write a song. So I think generally it has to start within us, our desire to create and our desire to share music. So I think of it as inspiration. For me, inspiration is something that moves me, right? So like a car. I'm just teasing. That moves like that, something that moves us emotionally. When we think about inspiration, we want to think about something that feels powerful and powerful enough to us to want to create around it. So it might be something that you really, really like. For me, for example, and as we go through this, I'll just kind of share some musical examples from my own life. I really love thunderstorms. And for those of you who are residing in Alaska right now, if you've ever lived on the East Coast, you know that we don't have a lot of thunderstorms here, but on the East Coast there are quite a few thunderstorms. And so the tune I wrote one day was called Rivulets, and it's about thunderstorms. Rivulets run into a rainstorm. Rivulets go to the sea. Run like water. Flowing down the east. myself clean. In those rains as they fall, forest lush and evergreen, forest lush and growing tall. So that song, you can hear there was, a little bit of a beginning part, and it moved and went somewhere else, like we were just talking about, the form. You could also hear that there was some rhyming and stuff happening. But most importantly, what that song did for me is that summed up an expression of something that I had been missing so much and something that I loved. And so experiencing that thunderstorm that was written about was so compelling to me that I had to write a song about it to commemorate it. So we could write about things we like. We could write about things that make us feel strongly in ways that, are expressing our frustrations or our worries or our upset, dislike emotions. I wrote this song recently, and it's a little bit frenetic. I dreamt of the month of November. I didn't need to fear a thing. I wondered if we would remember how to whistle or how to sing. Sing, sing, sing. And you can obviously hear the tension in that song, right? So that song for me was about right now as we go through everything with, social distancing and the pandemic and politics. November held a lot of weight. It was the height of the flu season. It was the election. I was so worried about what was going to happen when November actually happened, and here we are. It's a beautiful sunny day and we're still here. But in that moment, I was able to write out my emotions. It was so relieving. And now I hope to never play that song again. But so we can be inspired by things that move us, like things that we love or things that we really don't like, things that create a sense of fear or a sense of humor. I wrote a tune a while ago when I was feeling a little sad. And maybe over this hour you'll start to learn that I'm a pretty autobiographical songwriter, but I was feeling a little dejected one day, so I wrote a song called Crumb. Don't brush me off, 'cause I ain't no, I forgot to mic this guitar, pardon me. Let's try that right here. Sorry about that. I get so excited about songwriting that I forget to move the things. So this is a tune called Crumb, and it was a lighthearted song using humor to express a little bit of sadness. Don't brush me off, 'cause I ain't no crumb. You're acting like an old sore thumb. And I'm a real gal. Oh yes, and I have a heart. You knew that, yes you did, straight from the start. So you can see, even in moments of feeling sad, we can use music to help us express release from that through humor or anything like that. Ultimately, songs we pull them generally from a place of inspiration, whether it's our own stories or someone else's stories. So things that move us can be fodder for songwriting. Another thing that can move us, or another thing that can be fodder for songwriting is things that make us want to move, right? So have you ever been standing next to the office copier and it's going, suddenly you start to feel that beat. Suddenly it makes you want to move your feet, and then maybe you come up with a rhyme. Maybe you'll be singing in time, right? So that was obviously like a little rap, but we could feel that beat of the world around us, and it starts to kind of make cadences and meter in our head. And so the more, and granted I practice this muscle a lot, but the more we let those sounds affect us and create a beat for our song, we can be moved by the world around us. So there's a lot of inspiration in music, be it something that moves us emotionally or something that makes us want to move. Another one, let's see if I can figure out what this was. I think it was from here to here. Let me see. Let me double check. That sound might sound familiar. It's kind of like an ambulance sound. So you might be walking down the street and hear that. La 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 la. Even when the ambulance is gone, maybe la da 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 is still stuck in your head. So even noise, even sounds that we don't think of as musical can be a starting ground for music. So music is everywhere. Songwriting capabilities are everywhere. So what I'd like to do next is to do something called a free write. So if you are really struggling to find inspiration, that's okay. There are some days where I'm like, what should I write about? And I'm sitting there eating my oatmeal. Sometimes I write a song about my oatmeal if I can't think of anything else. But one method to sort of jumpstart our creative brain is to do what we call a free write. So I'm going to play you a minute of piano here while you go and grab your notepad and a pen or a pencil, any kind of writing implement, and something to write on. Or if you like to write on your computer, get your keyboard ready or your phone. And I'll just play us a little bit of music here as we get set for that. Take your time. Writing implement? Okay, sweet. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set a timer, and we're going to write for 1 minute straight. Now, you're like, Kat, what am I going to write about for 1 minute straight? I don't know. I'm going to give you an example first. I'm not going to hold this up towards the camera. So if you can see this, this is a free write I did right here. This whole weird thing that kind of looks like a tornado shape. That is a free write. I did this last night as I was getting inspired for today. And I'm going to read you what's on mine first, and then I'm going to join you in doing a free write. So with a free write, you put your pen to the paper, and you do not stop writing. It is free form. It is just something, just words. If you can't find a word, just draw a scribble until you can find a new word to write down. This is just a way to create material. So mine says, dogs, windows, beanie baby, rundown, old shack, squad, shack, the basket, weaver, dream weaver, need to paint, water, bucket, mount, some scribbles, Motown, emotional, tollbound, hound, Greg, greyhound. And then I ran out of time. So, as you can see, it doesn't really have to make sense. Sometimes you'll free write and you'll have real sentences. We're going to see what comes out right now. I'm going to set a 1 minute timer on my device here. Whoops. And you can just do this at home anytime if you have any kind of timer. Just set that. We're going to set that for 1 minute. And just to prove to you that anybody can free write, we're going to do one here today. Let me turn my ringer on so it lets us know. All right, are you ready? Friends at home, are you ready? Charlie and Seth, are you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, okay, so, and you guys can join in this too if you like. So, I might ask you for a word later. Okay, everybody ready? 1 minute, we're going to press go, and and we're going to just write for 1 minute straight. Oop, almost had it set for 1:30. You guys are going to get extra time. That's cheating. Just kidding. You can free write as long as you want. But for today, we're going to try a 1 minute exercise. Okay, here we go. Remember, once you start, you cannot stop. Here we go. Yay! Woo! All right. So how did that go for everybody? Feel good? It's weird to write for like that amount of time and then just stop. Okay, now I'm going to make sure that our timer doesn't go off on us again here. All right, we should be all set. So I'm going to read you. First, I'm going to show you what I just wrote. This is what came out. I have very scribbly writing, so I'll read it to us. But you can see that this time I didn't get quite, I had a different shape, right? The first time it was just all over the page going crazy. This time I kind of followed lines. However you write, you could free write. You could end up writing with magic marker on your leg. However you get the words out, it's just about moving that pen. So my free write says, I've been down the road by the warehouse in Pennsylvania. I wanted an ice cream and scribble, scribble, scribble. I think that koalas are cute. My sister is a very fast runner. One time when I was in 6th grade, I had bronchitis, and then I started to write the word brontosaurus, but I only got to bronto because we ran out of time. So that's what we call a free write, and it's a really strange activity. It feels a little bit interesting to do. Now, what do you do with a free write? I mean, I guess I could make this into a song. Let's try it. Let's see if I just verbatim turn this into a song. Let's set it over here. Now, I must remind you, if your verbatim free write does not sound like this, could be because you haven't been playing piano for 30 some years, or it could be because it's the first time you're writing a song. But let's see what I could do. I've been down the road with warehouse in Pennsylvania. I worked on and I wanted an ice cream, and I think that koalas are cute. My sister is a very fast runner. One time when I was in 6th grade, I had bronchitis, brontosaurus. So we could literally take those words and just set them to music, right? And again, music here being an organized set of pitches moving either up or down, either leaping or stepping across the keyboard or our instrument. Now, I don't know if I really like that song. Feel free to tell me in the chat if you guys like that song. but it's okay to not like what you might have free written. Now, so there is a method, right, the verbatim. Take exactly what you free wrote and set it to music. Just see if you can to try and create a melody. But a really nice way to dissect a free write is to figure out what kind of free write you've done. Did you have whole phrases? Did you have whole sentences? Did you tell a story? I mean, for all intents and purposes, I could have said, this morning I woke up and I made oatmeal with applesauce and pecans. It was delicious. The day was beautiful. I moved my tires from the back of the car into the shed, loaded up my instruments, and came to talk to people about music, the thing I love the most. Now that's a whole story that makes absolute sense. I could turn that into a song by just breaking this paragraph into different sentences and putting them into a form, that musical structure that we talked about. We could also take a line from something like that. So for example, if I have a narrative, like I woke up this morning and made oatmeal with applesauce, that could be my new sentence. I woke up this morning and ate oatmeal with applesauce. And ate oatmeal with applesauce. So that could be the start of a song. So if you have a narrative that's one complete thought, you can choose one of those thoughts in there and start with it. I've written it down, I've circled it. So now, I want to use this line to create a song, but how? How do I even start? I would say starting by thinking about those components of music, melody, rhythm. So let's start by talking about melody. Again, what is a melody? And we learned a lot of this from Sarah last week. What is a melody and how does it move? A melody is just any arrangement of pitches moving around, right? They can move up, and I'll give us some examples. They can move up in a scalar motion. I woke up this morning and I ate applesauce. I went up and down, right? They can move down. I woke up this morning and I ate applesauce with pecans. I forgot the oatmeal. But we can also make a melody that hops around. I woke up this morning and ate oatmeal with applesauce and pecans. right? We could hop around. We could leap. I woke up this morning and ate oatmeal with applesauce and pecans. So we could lead by leaping, by stepping. I woke up and ate applesauce and oatmeal with pecans. Right? So there are tons of ways that we can move. And even if you don't have a piano in front of you, you can start as simply as one pitch. I want you to just pick a note and sing this sentence, right? If I told you this sentence, I'd say, I woke up this morning and I ate oatmeal with applesauce and pecans. Now I'm going to sing it. I woke up this morning and ate oatmeal with applesauce and pecans. Right? I just added a little bit of pitch to my voice and I picked one tone and I stuck with it. Now, that might be a little bit boring to you. So maybe you want to make your melody move. Let's try it in our voice. And if you're at home, pick one of those sentences from your free write or pick a word from your free write and make a sentence. And let's try this. I woke up this morning and ate applesauce with pecans and oatmeal. Really what you're thinking at home is, Kat, you need more coffee because you keep mixing up your breakfast order. But as you can see, even with just our voice, we can start to create music. It's as simple as that. Now, you could be like, well, that sounds pretty complicated. Sounds more complicated than you're making it seem, Kat. There is something else happening. What's that other big component we talked about in music? Let's quiz Seth and Charlie and see if they remember. We talked about melody and form, and what was the other big one? Rhythm. You got it, right? Nice job. Gonna give it up, put your hands together for Seth back on the other side. So rhythm makes a big difference, right? If I have that beat, and I just sang this with every syllable being a beat, I even cheated with being, but you're gonna feel very differently. I woke up this morning and ate oatmeal with applesauce. It's almost too hard, and you're like, that song is going to take a very, very, very long time to sing. So we brought in a little bit of rhythm into this equation, right? This concept of making some words short and some words long. I woke up this morning and ate oatmeal with applesauce and pecans. So notice, I woke up this, I used two words for the first two beats, morning, and I took a single beat per syllable for morning, and ate applesauce. I even fit 3 syllables into one tap of that pulse. So you can start to play with the rhythm of your words. This is what we call cadence or meter. And I'm trying to think of the famous Shakespeare's. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day or a summer's rose? We're in a theater. Can someone help me here? Day. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Right? So there's a cadence to that sentence. It wouldn't be, shall I compare thee to, it's hard to get out of that. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Right? Putting emphasis on certain syllables really makes it sound different, but it sort of rolls. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? I woke this morning and I ate applesauce, oatmeal pecan syrup, and it was delicious, right? So we can start to put rhythm to these random things we're writing. So looking at that, that's sort of assessing our free write if we wrote something where we could create a whole sentence. Now, I'm going to say, let's talk about one other sort of free write. So maybe you did not come up with complete sentences or a paragraph. Maybe you just came up with random words. And I feel like today my free write was much more narrative, right? I had some sentences actually happening. But last night my narrative, or my free write was what I call very free form, right? When you have a very free form free write, your writing process goes a little differently. And again, I'm going to read us this free write from last night. And this is not a Rorschach test. There are no right or wrong answers. I don't know what Freud would have to say about me here, but it starts out with dogs, windows, beanie, baby, rundown, old shack, squad, shack, the basket weaver, dream weaver, need to paint, water, bucket, Motown, emotional, toll-bound, hound, Greg, greyhound. So what was happening in my brain? I know very few people named Greg. There's not really many places to go on a greyhound here in Alaska. We're nowhere near Motown. I think I might have been trying to write Shaq the basketball player, but then I accidentally wrote squad, and then basketball turned into basket weaver, which turned into dream weaver. Who knows what was happening in my brain? But stuff was coming out because I was moving my pen for 1 whole minute. So I can still come up with creative material just from this, this free write. Now, when we're dealing with a free write that is less narrative, again, what I'm calling here free form, there's a couple things we can look for. We can look for things that rhyme, because we know oftentimes songs use rhyme. So, for example, let's take the words, I actually circled some words that rhymed last night. They were rundown, Motown, toll-bound, greyhound. And now I'm going to put them to a melody. Again, I'm choosing an instrument because I like the support of piano, but you could just do this with your voice. And I'm going to think about the second thing that impacts me as someone writing from a free form, which is the concept of things that connect. In this case, you know, rundown, Motown, toll-bound, greyhound. If I had to make a theme out of those 4 words that came at vastly different places, you can see in this, right? Doop, doop, doop. By the end, I was probably starting to just connect rhyming words in my brain, but rundown is pretty far away. But now I want to take these rhyming words and I want to connect them conceptually. So thinking about that, rundown, Motown, toll-bound, greyhound. So I might try and picture those in my head and create a visual story. I think about transportation when I read these words, toll-bound, greyhound. I'd have to drive from here to get to Motown. Maybe the Greyhound station's run down because we're in a pandemic and nobody's toll-bound to Motown. Who knows? So let's see what comes out here. And to me, it kind of has like an ominous feeling, run down. And usually, for me, when I'm on a Greyhound, I'm moving. You know, it's a change, point of change in my life. But so I'm going to make some mood. I've been run down, now toll-bound, going to Motown. On a Greyhound bus, I don't know where I'll be, know where I'm gonna go, know when I'll get there, but it's time for me to go. I'm run down, toll-bound, going to Motown on my Greyhound. Right, so there, I mean, by the end it was kind of nonsense, and I might have even rhymed go with go, but guess what? If something comes out. Now, granted, again, I have a lot of practice with this. I write songs every day. I like to write poetry when I wake up in the morning. I like to write another poem before I sleep. Sometimes I even dream up songs. So this stuff, you could be like, Kat, when I sit down at a piano, it doesn't do that. I promise you, songwriting is a muscle, just like anything else. If you exercise it, it will come with more grace and ease every day. But just like this, you know, you might start with one note. I'm feeling run down. I wish I could go to Motown. If only we could be toll-bound, but we're locked down. Oh, right? So whatever you want to do, just start creating an idea around something. So, so that's what you can do with a free write. And now I know I could talk for a long time about stuff, but I want to kind of move us forward here. So if you're looking for inspiration, method one, free write. Free write is broken down into 2 pieces, either a narrative feeling, where you can take a whole sentence from your work, or a free form where you can look for something that might rhyme to create a story. Or you can look for things that conceptually sound like grouped similar things, like something that has to do with transportation. Or, you know, you might say dogs and beanie babies, things that are cute, right? So you can start to connect concepts from random chaos that just came out of your fingers. So that's a free write. That's our 1-minute free write. You could do that for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, just depending how much creative fodder you want to create. The next mission is if you are really, say you're trying to free write and your mind is so caught up by something else, you're just distracted, mom is sick, or your kid is injured, or something that's just consuming your mind, and you can't find that freedom to just be free. We can go to other people's creativity. So this is, you may have seen one of these. They're kind of old school. They're paper. Inside paper, it's called a book. Most of these days we read online, but this is an old school book, and I love these because you can actually flip through them just randomly and just pick a word. So what we're going to do next is we're going to pick 4, actually. We're going to flip through a book, and then we're going to stop somewhere, and we're going to pick 4 words off that page. So, okay, here we go. I'm going to scroll, and gentlemen here, if you tell me when to stop. Stop. Okay, so we stopped on page 147 and 146 of Steve Martin's Born Standing Up. Steve Martin is an American comedian. He wrote this beautiful memoir about doing stand-up comedy and his creative path in the comedy world, and it's a really great read. I'm not actually this far in the book, so this is going to be a little bit of jumping ahead. So I'm going to read you the first sentence from the paragraph here. One weekend I was playing at the boarding house in San Francisco, opening for a talented mountain man folk singer named Utah Phillips. My shows went well, very well. I waited for the reviews, but there was scant mention. 5 paragraphs devoted to Utah and a line or 2 about me, right? So just there, we could do a couple of things. We could pick 4 words. Let's pick 4 words. Let's go with San Francisco. That's 2, but that's a cool place that I can picture in my mind. San Francisco and shows and weekend, right? So now we have 4 words. We can use those same principles that we used in the random free write to create something with these 4 words. Maybe let's make a sentence out of them. San Francisco shows great promise in the weather this weekend. There we go, I just added a few things. And now we can write from there. We could start to write a song about San Francisco shows great promise for the weekend. It's raining meatballs and cats and dogs. I'm going to go make some dinner and pet some frogs. I don't know. So that's kind of a great way to sort of start with just picking words to create ideas. One other thing we can do is, we'll do this one more time. If you guys tell me to stop once again. Oop, one more time, sorry. Okay, we are on 128 this time. So let's see, we're going to pick a place to read. We'll go down to this bottom paragraph here. I resigned from television writing against the I resigned from television writing against the advice of my agent, a man who had wisely vacuumed up all the young talent discovered by the Smothers Brothers. Okay, so I'm going to go with that. I resigned from television writing against the advice of my agent. So this is a different idea now. What we're doing is we are talking about taking somebody else's story and turning it into our own, or a story rather. I resigned from television. Okay, so I resigned from television. Here we are. We now have an idea. This is somebody's story. In our case, it's Steve Martin's story. But if you haven't read the book, you don't know very much about that. I'm going to start to create a story from this sentence. So, I resigned from television. I couldn't believe that my network refused to cover the alien invasion. So I just made up a story, and suddenly what went from a real-life Steve Martin story turns us into sort of a sci-fi, a dystopian sci-fi world. I resigned from television. I couldn't believe that my network refused to cover the alien invasion. And just there, whether those 2 lines make it into the song, now I can write a song about an alien invasion. So using somebody else's lines, like an actual line, you could take it verbatim, or you could take it and add to it to create a story of your own. We'll do one more from the book just to kind of give us an idea. If you gentlemen would be so kind. Okay, so this time we have The next day, oh, this is page 154. The next day, elated by my success, I walked into an antique store. Now, this is going to be a little different. I'm just going to write antique store for the sake of time here. What we're going to do this time is we're going to delve into our own memories. Have you ever been in an antique store? When was the last time you were in an antique store? So for me, the last time I was in an antique store was in Phoenix, Arizona. Gosh, it's been a long time. And I was super excited to be there because they had an antique organ that I got to play. So all of a sudden, I have recounted a memory now. So this is a place where you can start to choose something and write from. For the sake of time, I'm going to move us on past this, this series of inspirational options. So, but looking at this, we've kind of covered three, right? We had a free write, which was either kind of came out as a narrative where we could take a direct sentence, or we could take words from it and link them together via rhyme or concept. And then we had using someone else's words to pick 4 words and just start to create a new concept entirely. Or we could go the method where we take a sentence from there and add on to it to create a new story. And finally, we had one where we took whatever we read and tried to relate it to our own selves and our personal experiences in the world. So those are methods to kind of jumpstart that inspiration. But you're like, Kat, we only have 15 minutes. We need to write a song, and we just got through inspiration. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? So next we need to figure out about execution of the songwriting process. I mean, otherwise you'll end up just like me with like papers with scribbles everywhere, and then you won't have any songs to play. So we want to get past that point. But now let's go ahead and I'm just going to do a 20-second off-the-clock free write because we're going to start to really execute this song. So go ahead if you're there with your pen and paper. If you want to do another quick free write, I'm going to do one for the sake of this example. Okay. All right, here we go. I don't know exactly how many seconds that was, but we started a new paper and we just got this. I'm going to read you what we got. Branches, ice and snow, nowhere to go, Costco, groceries, Thanksgiving, thankful for the heater and sweaters, sunshine, hurry, Cat, out of time. So obviously some of that came out, as a full narrative. We can kind of see these examples that we spoke of. Branches, ice and snow, nowhere to go, right? That could be a line. Then we have some things that are random. I'm clearly thinking about the fact that I need to go to Costco and get groceries, figure out what I'm going to do for Thanksgiving. And even if I can't spend it with other people in real life, I'm thankful for the heater at my house and sweaters and the sunshine that I got to walk through to come here today. And then I realized I should probably stop thinking about myself and teach you more about music. So let's pick some stuff from this song. I'm going to pick branches, ice, and snow, and heater and sweaters. Okay, so now we're going to start to execute the songwriting process. Beyond inspiration, we talked about needing melody and rhythm. So I'm going to take these few words and I'm going to give myself a moment to think about a melody and a rhythm for them. And I'm going to add a few little words here. So we had branches, ice, snow, heater, and sweaters. And I'm going to say branches in ice, branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow. So I'm kind of thinking about how these things apply now that I've got the words. Blanketed in snow. Middle of November, and I like rhyme as you can tell here. Middle of November, nowhere to go. I'm going to throw in that. Middle of November, nowhere to go. So we've got a little bit here. Grateful for heat. Heat, chunky sweater to wear. So I'm thinking about the sweater and giving it a qualifying agent. Chunky, big wool sweater, chunky sweater to wear. What can I rhyme with wear? Let's go with that gratitude feeling. Thankful for family and friends who care. So we did a free write, and now, again, this may not all come so quickly the first time you try it, but the more you do it, the more you exercise with rhyme, we get something. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. Grateful for heat, chunky sweater to wear, thankful for family and friends who care. And actually, friends who care, you could see that I started to make a rhythm just speaking this verse. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. Grateful for heat, chunky sweater to wear, thankful for family and friends who care. I kind of feel like I want to change the end a little bit, and friends love and care. That feels a little bit more like it meets the rest of it for me. So for me, I used rhythm to sort of add in a few words. I wanted a faster rhythm. One more time. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. Grateful for heat, chunky sweater to wear, thankful for family and friends love and care. So suddenly you could be like, well, you just wrote a poem. Maybe. What's the difference between a poem and a song? What are those two things, gentlemen? One starts with M.
Melody and rhythm.
Oh, boom. Now we got 10 points there for Charlie, melody and rhythm. So we got the rhythm already. Now we have to add a melody. So I'm going to just sing branches in ice, round blanketed in snow. Even if I'm just speaking, did you hear one of those pitches go down? Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow. So for me, there's a natural cadence of falling pitch at the end of a sentence. Maybe I put that into melody. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow. Let's see if I can find that on my instrument. Branches in ice. Oh no, I wrote it in A flat. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow. Ooh, that's a hard key for me. I'm going to move it. I like that. Less black keys to play. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow. Maybe I want to repeat my melody for the second line. Middle of November, nowhere to go. Okay, that's something, right? I use some leaps, leaping up, back, repeating, leaping down. Now, I want to get fancy because I like having repetition, but I want to add a little bit more. So we're going to take this and add a little bit. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. So all of a sudden I have a melody and a rhythm. Middle of November, nowhere to go. I can embellish on it by oscillating back and forth between those pitches that I was using. So let's try that one more time, fully developed now. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. Now, as we move forward with this, we want to think about some other things in the songwriting process. After inspiration, we come up with this, but then we have to choose what we want our song to be like. Do we want our song to be happy or sad? And if you heard his performance last weekend or her lecture, she talked about minor and major chords and the way they create different mood, right? So, so if I play a major chord, which you can hear sounds that are happy, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, mi, sol. It's a very upbeat sounding thing because of its consonants. The way the sound waves jive together makes them feel pretty pleasant in our body. branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. Now, that sounded pretty upbeat. You know, maybe there were some weird notes where there felt like a little bit more tension, but I could also lay a minor chord underneath that. A minor chord. Sol, re, sol, versus re, sol, re, sol. This is a little bit more muted because of the way the sound waves actually interact acoustically. This creates a little bit more dissonance, or a little bit more of like a grindy sound. Therefore, it has a little less resolution, and it's going to lend a different mood. Branches and ice, brown blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. So tonality can be something that we add into our songwriting process to create a different mood. And I won't go too deep into this because I feel like if you're really excited about learning that, check out Sarah Anderholm's lecture. She did a really great job of illustrating how to use tonality and chords to create a different sense of mood for a song. But also, we could talk about the tempo and how that affects our mood. A tempo is just a fancy music word for the speed, right? If I play that same thing with the major chord, and I sing it really fast, right? Branches in ice, brown blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go, right? Has a very different thing than if I play it over the minor chord in slow. Suddenly you're like, whoa, that girl needs to like drink some coffee, right? So we're inferring different mood depending on how we create tempo, using tempo to create a boisterous, upbeat feeling, or to slow it down and create a more somber mood. Tonality, like the major or minor, to create a sense of consonance and warmth and resolution. There's something that feels resolved about this. Would feel very different if I didn't resolve it. Whew, right? Or if I resolved it differently. We're left with a different feeling. So we can start to take these free writes and add, once we've added our rhythm and our melody, we can use tempo to change the feeling. We can use tonality to change the feeling. We could change the lyrical contact. The lyrical context. Here we have branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, nowhere to go. That's a little sad, right? You're like, oh man, God, what's going on? Well, if I changed nowhere to go to something a little bit more optimistic, suddenly I changed the whole mood of the song. Branches in ice, ground blanketed in snow, middle of November, we're out to a show, right? All of a sudden, we're on our way to Cyrano's, here to watch a beautiful play, we're with our friends. It just invokes a totally different feeling in our mind. We can visualize something different. So our lyrical content really changes the mood as well. And again, it's up to you what you choose to make your song about. I'm going to play you one just to show you two, or actually I'll play you two examples to illustrate how lyrical content and mood and tonality don't always have to be exactly the same, right? So this is a love song. It's called The Garden. Wound around her like a vine. Never looking when you find it. That's somebody who just found love, but it sounds pretty somber, right? It opens with giant ominous strike of a low E. So mood and lyrical content don't need to be the same. We could create a sense of cognitive dissonance for our listeners by mixing them up. Another example is this, which is, I have not played this song in a long time. Let's see if I remember it. And I'll remember my microphone too while we're at it. Pardon me, all the bumps here. This is a song called Because My Heart, and will get us as far as the chorus. Now this is a song about a broken heart, believe it or not, but you may not think so when you first hear it. Laid awake, wondering about the, laid awake, wondering about the fate of love. My heart could break, but I am not the one you're thinking of. But I don't mind, didn't mean to find new love today. Oh no, not this way, because my heart is so demanding. Every day it is expanding, and your presence is so commanding that I just can't go. No, I can't say no to your love. No, I can't say no to your love. So you could even see, right? Like when I played that first song, my brow was furrowed, my nostrils were flared. I looked angry. During that love song. And here I just sang this very, very interestingly lyric song. Interestingly lyric might not be a real sentence, but a song with very interesting lyrics if you listen to them, and we'll analyze them in a moment here. But I was smiling the whole time. I was playing chords. It was fun, you know. We were having a good time. It was like we're at the hoedown. Pardon me for one moment. Needless, the lyrics of that song. I laid awake wondering about the fate of love. My heart could break, but I am not the one you're thinking of. But I don't mind it. I didn't mean to find new love today. Well, not this way. Because my heart is so demanding. Every day it is expanding. And your presence is so commanding that I just can't go. I can't say no to your love. When I wrote that song, I was in unrequited love with a person who didn't love me back. And I was so devastated. And I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't stop feeling the things I felt. And so I wrote that song to just get it out because I just needed to let it go. But when you hear that song, by virtue of the chords, the tonality, the rhythm, the instrumentation, all of these things make it sound upbeat. So you might see that there is dissonance in your songwriting, and that's totally okay. So I just wanted to kind of illustrate those two things. Now, I know we're just about out of time, but I know the gentlemen here have been so kind to let me go a few minutes over. So I'm going to move us on to the last section of the execution. We've covered the inspiration, we've covered the mood and the execution, and now we're going to cover the technique. So part of it is knowing what you want the mood of your song to be. Part of it is knowing how to execute it. If you are a very beginning singer and you've never sung before and you're watching this right now, I'm going to give you a tip and an exercise to practice that will help you become a strong singer. When we sing, we always look for notes, right? It's as if there might be a note in that corner or a note over here. We go, if we're trying to find Mary Had a Little Lamb. Mary had, Mary had, Mary had, Mary had, Mary had. Have you ever heard a singer do that? We're looking for the right note, but we can't find it. So one technique you can use is finding a note by scaling up or down. We're just going to slide our voice. Mary had a little lamb. So thinking about this is, I know for some of you advanced songwriters out there, you're like, I know how to sing a note. But for many of us, if we never sang before, it's a new thing. Use your voice to slide up and down until you find the pitch that sounds right to your ear. And that same thing can be done on your instrument as well. So for example, Mary had a little lamb. I'm just literally moving each note. So it's really important to know how to control your instrument or your voice. And the best way is to understand the direction of your melody. Does it need to go up? Does it need to go down? Is it hopping really far away? If it is it hopping up or is it hopping down? Just understanding these things, this is sort of technique. The other thing to be aware of in the songwriting process for instrumentalists out there, is that as you write melodies, you can write accompaniment, you can write chords. Chords are just any assortment of more than 2 notes played simultaneously. So while this is not a chord, this actually is a chord, this is a chord. Neither of those are great chords. We're used to chords that sound like this. So yeah, sing the right thing. Do, mi, sol, mi, do. That's what we call a major chord. Or do, mi, sol, mi, do. That's what we call a minor chord. These are both triads. Notice 3 notes. So when you are using chords to support yourself, if you like to play a lot of different instruments, I just wanted to take a moment briefly to expound on the concept of technique and voicings. So knowing how to use your instrument to create different sounds is a very dramatic tool in the songwriting and song creation process. So I'm going to play what we call a G triad. Do, mi, sol. Here it is. This is what we call a root position G triad. It's in a very tight space. There's just one skip between each note. I can move the bottom note up, put it on top. That sounds very different, even though it's still recognizable as that G chord. I can move that note on top. Still playing a G chord, but it sounds different. And last but not least, if I move it up one more time, since I only have 3 notes, I'm back in the same spot. So listen to this. Listen to this as an example. I'm going to play the chords supporting "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Chord 2. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Chord 3. You are my sunshine. Notice the difference there. Now I'm going to take that same key and play it for you on guitar. It's a key of G, a G chord. You heard the 3-note chord on piano. On guitar, we have 6 strings, which means that when we hear the G chord, by the end of this, you think I'll finally remember to lean the mic over here. We have 6 strings, so you're going to hear all those same notes, but some of them may be doubled. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Last but not least, I want to show you how different that sounds on yet another instrument, the cello. And I think it's really important to share this stuff because when we write, some songs will want to come out on one instrument, and some songs will be much better on a different instrument. So for this one, I can't play all at the same time because that string shares the first 2 notes of the G chord. So I have to play the G, skip my middle note, play the D, and then I have to put my middle note up on top. And notice it's hard to play all 3 notes exactly at once, so I have to break them. So for this one, it's going to sound a little different. You are my sunshine. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me, right? It's going to sound very different if I use my fingers. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Just the same way that if I plucked the guitar, it would sound very different than strumming. So all in all, there we go. All in all, I just wanted to illustrate the concept of what we call voicings. Voicings are different ways to express the melodies and the harmonies that we've used to write. And since we're wrapping up here, I just want to take a quick, brief moment to reiterate the things that we talked about. We talked about inspiration. How do you find inspiration for a song? I like to think of something that moves me, or listen in the world for something that makes me move. Maybe I can get the rhythm from that, or I can get the melody from pitched sounds that I hear a bird singing when I'm out hiking or skiing. Or I like to think about my emotions and find something that moves me and write from there. If you're feeling uninspired, that is okay. We all have times where we've experienced the infamous writer's block. And if you're feeling that way, I would try one of these cool activities like a free write, or taking a free write, whether it's a narrative that comes out or a very free-form free write. Or you could take something, the pick 4 method from a book, pick a sentence, and either write from your experience of that same sentence, kind of find a way to connect with the author there, or you could just take some words from a book and use that as creative content. So we've got the concept of free writing. Once you've got your inspiration, we have to give that inspiration some sort of rhythm and some sort of melody so that it becomes music, an organized expression of pitches. Once we start to really execute the musical process, we have a lot of tools that we can use to inflect that process. A lot of tools to change the mood of our song, be it tonality, through major or minor chords, or the rhythm, the rhythmic texture, either speeding up words or lengthening words out, the tempo of the song, the speed of the song, ensuring that, you know, we either create a fast-moving song that makes us want to dance or something that really spreads out time so we can sit and intellectually connect with that piece of music. The lyrical content, what message does it give? We can also talk about instrumentation, how best to support it, or what instrument makes the melody feel the best. I'm going to end us here with the last quick topic, and that's just performing these things. If you decide that you want to perform your song, and I'll be very brief about this, I just wanted to kind of quick cover this. I think the most important thing about performing something that you've made is being comfortable. So if you're comfortable writing songs and keeping them to yourself, that's totally okay. If you are comfortable writing something and sharing it with each other, I just wanted to say that the most important part of that is understanding why we're choosing to share music and trusting in yourself and the audience that's listening. So I think for me, songwriting is something that's very personal, but it's also something I love to share. And I feel reassured knowing that the things I'm writing about are coming from a place of authenticity and joy. And I feel like that I can trust myself when I go to share a song with someone else, that they'll perceive that. And I also trust that the people I'm sharing music with are there to enjoy it and to, you know, experience creativity and art together. And so just to close us out here, I'm going to sing us one last song. And this is an example of one technique I didn't talk about, but Siri can help you write songs. I was trying to communicate with Siri one day, and I said, I'm on my way home from a Sugar Strings rehearsal. That's the band I play with, is the super saturated Sugar Strings. And she heard me, and she came back, and she said, Kat, or well, she didn't say Kat. She said, would you like sugar or salt? And I said, no, I'm trying to text somebody. This isn't working. But then I thought about that sugar or salt line. And I thought, how interesting, sugar or salt. We always talk about life being bitter and sweet. Maybe it's sugar and salt. So as an out, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this today. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I love sharing music, and I hope that these tools, which I've shared with you today, will help you write music that you enjoy. And and if not, I hope that you got to enjoy watching me make up songs about oatmeal on a November morning. And a special thanks to Charlie Sears and Seth. Seth, I apologize. What's your last name? Seth Ingleston, and to Cyrano's Theater for hosting us here. Thank you to the National Endowment of the Arts, to Creative Forces, and to Akimi. Is there anybody else I'm forgetting?
Our art therapist, Alexis, and music therapist, Danielle.
To Danielle and Alexis, thank you so much for art therapy and music therapy. What an important and beautiful line of work to be in. This is Sugar or Salt. My name is Kat Moore. Thank you so much again for having me here. And enjoy all of the songwriting over the next coming weeks. Is it sugar? Oh, should I put this back on the guitar one more time? I said I was gonna learn. Remember, like I said, it's a muscle. If you practice it, I'll practice my guitar muscle here. Or putting the mic on the guitar muscle. This is Sugar and Salt. Thank you for joining us. Is it sugar or is it salt? Either way, it ain't your fault. Days go by and I wonder when. Oh, I could see your face again. Yeah, I could see your face again. Now I play this old guitar keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. Sing our song. Well, they say life is bittersweet. And sometimes lemons are what we eat. But I know I'll make it through as long as I share my table with you. As long as I share my table with you. So may your dreams be good when your days are not. May we wake up thankful for what we've got. No, we may not have everything, but we got each other and we can sing and songwrite now. We can songwrite. Yes, we got each other and we can sing. Well, time's been hard. Time's been hard on everyone. We keep hanging on. Yes, we keep hanging on. We keep hanging on to sing our song. Now I'd like to invite Charlie and Seth to sing with me, and I'd like to invite everybody at home to sing with me. We're just going to keep hanging on, keep hanging on, keep hanging on to sing our song. Ready to try it? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on to sing our song. You got it now a little bit louder. I can't hear you from home. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on to sing our song. Thank you so much for joining us again today. And enjoy all of that songwriting at home. And I can't wait to hear your tunes.